You're welcome. Have a seat.
All right.
Oh, Betty. My goodness. Is she spectacular? In just, I love you dearly. You are just amazing. You move, touch, and inspire people to greatness all the time. And truly have shattered every glass ceiling. You are really the core essence of what No Glass Ceiling is all about. And not just in business, but in life and in everything that you do and the people that you touch and how you are able to just affect change. It's spectacular. So on day one, I shared the story about No Glass Ceiling and how almost 20 years ago, the only people that really knew that was my mom and my sister who's here. And that, the vision at the time was to help 1 million women make one change to cause a ripple effect around the world. But, again, 15, 20 years ago, if you said that out loud, you'd wind up in a straitjacket, not the exact kind of clothing that we would want to wear. And my mom said, you've got to do this. It is truly your calling. And I set out to do that. And then a year later, she died in my arms. I was 8 months pregnant with my first son, and they heard the story. Well, shortly after, my sister had given me a pendant that's shattered glass. And there is only one other one that we can find documented in the Smithsonian. And so last year I had it replicated, and I'm giving you a pen that I've had replicated that's like shattered glass. It's a little smaller replication of the exact pen. So I'm just so excited
Thank you.
that you're here.
Oh, wow.
You can put it next to the Pentagon. Well, not right now.
I got this at the Pentagon. It's a flag and I wear it in honor of my mother for bringing me to this country.
That is so wonderful. So that's a reminder. So we were actually in your office.
Yes, we were.
Well, let's back up a little bit. So we met at that networking event that I was mentioning to them
that's right, yes.
that I never go to,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And the moment we had met, I was like, oh, we have to, your message was like, oh my goodness, I would love to have you speak at No Glass Ceiling. And, we'll just, this is an organic conversation, but I wanted to just kind of distill back into the audience so that we can weave into some of the learnings that they've had over the last couple of days. So we talk a lot about relationship building, right? And decision makers, and that truly relationship, it's not just about a key decision maker or whoever that is. It's about truly creating relationship.
Yeah.
And yet, the relationship with someone like Gloria, for example, is where a relationship starts. And Gloria, I see you back there, and gosh, I think I spent more time talking with Gloria in the beginning, right?
Yeah, you
and
did,
she was
actually.
so instrumental. And then what I loved is we would text, which that's when I was like, oh, this is so much better. And so then we would just text. And it was amazing to me because you were you were doing an interview at the White House, and we lived and worked 10 minutes from each other, and yet we couldn't get our schedules together.
It was crazy, amazing. You should have seen it. We met in D.C.
Yeah, you took a red eye.
I know. Oh yes, I did take the red eye, didn't I, Gloria?
Yeah,
oh
Gloria said she's not going to arrive until this, but if she takes a red eye, then she'll be able to meet you. And you took a red eye, which I was absolutely amazed. And you looked fabulous after the red eye, by the way.
Thanks.
And so you've had this extraordinary success, right? And so, a couple of things. It's like on the business side first, when you're looking to, do business with another partner out there, for Dr. Betty, what are some of the core characteristics? I know you talked about values and things like that.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the folks are looking to do business with, decision makers. What are some of the things that you're looking for, or the fatal mistakes that people do make that cause you to say no?
I look at the little things, and Gloria will tell you this. If you come to my office, after you leave my office, I'll talk to the Linda, the receptionist. and I'll say, hey, Linda, how did they treat you? How did they address you? Because however they address you, remember, integrity happens when nobody's looking, and if they don't think that they're looking at anybody, then, I want to know how they treat Linda or the cleaning person or the elevator person or the person that enters the building. Right. I look at that. Follow-up is very important. It's okay to renegotiate a time with me. It's not okay to be late. Even 1 minute is late for me. I manage my time in 5-minute increments, and so we put my people on hold when they have a one-on-one with me. If they call 1 minute early, because I can return 3 phone calls in 1 minute. So the time is extremely valuable, and Gloria knows my time and their time is very valuable. If they don't know how to manage their time, they won't know how to manage my people. And they will be late to my meetings, and they will be late to things, and that's disrespectful. And I just, when you said, done, she means it, I mean it too. And I do business with people like that. This is why this woman,
so amazing.
Absolutely, the values have to be completely aligned.
Right.
So I look at the little things, right?
Right.
If you're late, it's okay, because it's not okay to be late, but if you're gonna be late, renegotiate beforehand. Now, I want you to know that I left Los Angeles at 5:30 this morning so that I could be here by 9:30. It doesn't take 4 hours to get here, but I had enough time to get a flat tire or get in a car wreck, rent another car, and still be here within plenty of time to get mic'd up to be here with you. That's what I tell my people. So being late because of traffic, we all live in Southern California. I know that there's going to be traffic, and if I'm important enough to you, you're going to show up. Does that make sense? So it's the little things. And I look at, my mother used to say, en el desayuno se ve lo que va a ser el almuerzo. You look at breakfast, you see how good lunch is going to be. Right?
Then they're probably looking forward to lunch.
You had a good breakfast, awesome. So I look at the little things. Did they follow up? How did they follow up? Were they creative? Did they send me, when I interviewed for this particular position I currently have, I sent a friend of mine, I sent a friend of mine, I said, can I pay you to go and take a handwritten note to the CEO and another handwritten note to the CFO, because I wanted to be different, I wanted to be personal, I wanted them to get my personality, Betty's voice. Who's Betty? And Betty's different, because it's one person at a time. If I get somebody like that, I want to do business with them. These individuals that are at this table, it's no coincidence that they're here today. Every single one of them is incredibly important in my life, and they have made themselves the very best person that I can do business with in their field. I will not look at anyone else but them. That's what you want to do.
Right. So creating that tribe, that center of influence, those trusted, friends, thought leaders, business associates, peers, really, it becomes almost like a family.
It is.
It
Absolutely.
really is.
Absolutely.
And I loved seeing in your office that you received an award for breaking the glass ceiling. I was like, what? That's amazing,
the Latina Golfers Association.
But still, I was like, the message is out there. So that is fantastic. Oftentimes, like in business and in life, we take a look at how are we maintaining femininity? How do we stay a strong woman without trading that femininity? How do we have conversations in the boardroom or with generals and then stand on that foundation of integrity? And oftentimes women feel like it's a tightrope. And I personally never felt like that. And I'm certain that it's value-based. And so would you just kind of share with them?
Sure.
Because I know you feel the same way, right?
Absolutely.
It just becomes so much easier. But for those that feel like, well, I'm working with someone that's a high-powered key decision maker or an affluent entrepreneur, right? Or like I said earlier, the CEO, the CIO, the EIEIO, right? So many times we, attach a label.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you would give folks when they start to feel like they have to compromise?
Don't.
There you go.
Just don't compromise. But I read a book when I was 15 years old. My brother and I think I told you about this. My brother and I were driving from San Francisco to LA, and I read the whole book from San Francisco to LA. So it's little. I don't even know if it's in print anymore. It's Dr. Tony Grant's Being a Woman. Dr. Tony Grant, Being a Woman. And it taught me that I don't have to be like a man or like anybody else. You know, there's a lot of conversation about men and women. I'm the only girl in my family, and I learned how to drink scotch with my dad, and I learned how to do the car thing, and I've rebuilt everything. So I'm kind of one of the guys, but I'm also, look at me, I'm feminine, and I'm very happy to be a woman, and I love being a woman, and I'm very motherly, but I'm a shrewd negotiator. Gloria will tell you. And I stand up, and I'm like, you know, so you don't have to compromise who you are. In business, you know, I did a $2.5 billion deal.
Here we go.
That's the largest deal I've ever done, so I even beat her.
Mine was only 1 billion, so we were.
So when you're dealing with business, and business is business, and when you're dealing with business, if you're dealing with CEOs, just by the nature of the beast, it's going to be men that you're dealing with. And guys, don't you just want the women to just bullet point the conversations and get to the point? Just don't give me the whole, and this happened, and this happened, and this is why it happened, and all of that. You see, he's laughing. What's your name? Daniel. Give Daniel a hand for laughing. But right? So just bullet point your conversations, get to the point, be concise. They don't want to hear the story. They just want to know what you're going to do. Also, lead with numbers. In business, lead with numbers. We all care. We love the fact that we're making an impact. We love that they feel better. We love that there's engagement. But at the end of the day, when you're managing a business, it's as if the money came out of your personal pocket. So make believe you're making an investment and the money's coming out of your personal pocket. And then you realize how to frame the conversation. So bullet point it, lead with numbers. What is the return on investment that you're going to be getting? I loved that conversation this morning. You're so spot on. I was like, yeah, she's saying all the right things. This is great. So lead with the numbers, return on investment, and then if you can't, so for example, if what you're doing is going to increase the retention of employees, monetize it. What does that mean? It costs $175,000 to hire somebody new. If you're going to be reducing retention or increasing retention by 30%, monetize it, do the math, and then give them that. And then share success stories. People want to do business with people who are successful. So if you have a one-pager with testimonials, and the testimonials have numbers in them from somebody else that is credible, that speaks the world for somebody like me. Because if you don't give it to me, I'm going to ask Gloria to make the phone calls, because I'm going to find out anyway. I'm not going to do business with you unless I know that you're a credible source, that you have been endorsed by a credible source. So the part about champions that I talked about, find champions for yourself, like Pablito is for me, out in the business place. And by the way, he is that. He's one of the few men that I know in the United States of America who makes it his business to help women get in board seats in Fortune 500 companies.
And boards that have women are far more productive than those that do not.
Yes.
We just need more. As Orion mentioned earlier, there's butts in seats, and we need board seats for women, right? And so I think that's just so important.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's interesting because we were just talking about compromise, and you mentioned don't, which I completely agree with, right? And yet, when you're collaborating with someone, especially two powerful women, right? Sometimes we need to compromise and come to like an agreement, like you mentioned earlier, right? So we had this amazing conversation, which was a negotiation,
Yes, it
collaboration, compromise, and it was just like, it was really great to experience the whole thing, right? So I'll cue it up a little bit for them, right? So, no glass ceiling. We stand on the foundation of we don't pay, speakers to come in. And Gloria and I were talking about this, and Gloria is always paid to speak. And of course, we talked about your pricing too, and we raised it.
Yeah, she raised it. Yay.
And she went, what? And I said, yes. And she goes, I like that, And, but, back to the point, it's that, excuse me, we were having the conversation about how can we both stay in integrity? And how can we make this happen and make it work and stay in integrity, right? And so it was actually, you came up with a really great idea. And so near and dear to your heart is, Leonard, I'm going to cough again, I'm sorry. Excuse me, thank you. So near and dear to your heart is someone actually that I happen to know. And I said, oh my goodness.
It's a small world.
It's such a small world. So the Unstoppable Foundation with Cynthia Kersey, and I showcased the Unstoppable in the workbook.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I did. And, basically the bottom line was, well, how about if instead of, we don't have to even have any conversation about integrity, how about if I just sponsor some of the young girls and women through Unstoppable Foundation, which is near and dear to your heart, and we can both help the groups here and we can help the Unstoppable Foundation. So no glass ceiling. We have a check for you in the back of the room, is going to be sponsoring a village with the 3 children in Unstoppable. So I'm so excited to be able to do that. Yeah. So excited to be able to do that. So there's always, if there's, I have one hair.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Don't you?
Yeah.
It's like I see something. If there's a will, there's a way. And so
There's always a way, and
Talk
that's the
about
thing.
that.
You will always find a way if you take the time to dig deep in, get in the water. Remember that little visual? I want you to have that visual, because I want you to remember, get in the water, get to know the people that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But get to know them on a personal level. We make the mistake of only talking about business. When you get to know them on a personal level, you earn their trust. Once you've earned their trust, and that's what Kelly did with me. We started talking about, okay, wait a minute, and Gloria's like, no, they don't pay. I'm like, but I made a promise to myself I was never going to speak. I was going to not devalue myself, right? And I thought, actually, Gloria said, what if she donates to somebody? I'm like, that's a great idea, because then she can be in integrity, I can be in integrity, and we can do this. Now, Gloria knows my values, you know my values, because we talked about those very first meeting we had. And so there's always a different way to do something. I had a conversation with my senior credit officer over a large deal not too long ago, and I got him on the phone. We were trying to do something, and his head person from the loan center said, we have never done this before. I love it when people say that. Because no, to me, I cross that out and I don't cross it out. I leave the no and I put a T, and then I put a space, and then I put an N-O-W after that, right? So no to me, to them it's no. To me, it's not now. It means that I just need to renegotiate or reinvent myself in a way that will get to their value system and what's important to them. I come at it from a different standpoint, from a different vantage point. I can't do that if I don't know them. I can't do that if I don't know their values, what's important to them, their children, what they live, their 80th birthday. Well, very few people have a 80th birthday toast. Hopefully all of you will live after this, but there's more than one
Right.
way.
There truly is more than
And
one
if
way.
there isn't, walk away.
And we
Cut your
talked about
losses,
that.
walk away. Don't waste your time. Don't even waste your time. Waiting for a year and a half to book a deal, it took us almost 2 years to book that $2.5 billion deal. If it's a $2.5 billion deal that you're working on, wait 2 years. If it isn't, let it go. Just let it go.
6 figures in 60 days or less.
Love it.
I mean, they're looking going, wow, it just seems so simple, right? But it really is.
It's simple when you're aligned with your values.
Right.
When you know what your value system is and you're willing, you have to be willing to walk away from it. And in fact, in negotiations, and I teach a class over at USC, in negotiations, when you're willing to walk away from it, it makes you a stronger negotiator. It brings your position to a more powerful position. When you say, you don't have to go with me, in fact, I'll refer you to somebody else, this just isn't the way that I do business. It's all right. I can walk away.
Right,
They'll come back to you if they really want it.
right. Earlier we talked about, just have a couple more minutes here, but earlier we talked about, it's okay to ask in partnership. And I loved that you were constantly talking about asking, because we were addressing that earlier, right? And you don't have to have all of the answers. You can ask in partnership. What does this look like? How can we make this happen? Whether it's this conversation. We've had conversations where we've just kind of opened it up and said, what can we do together? How can, what's next for us? And we're figuring that out.
Yep.
And so, and I'm excited about that.
I know.
Who knows
Me
what it's going to
too.
look like, but it's going to be really
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
I
going to
know
be
it'll
really
be great.
cool.
You have to be okay with it not being perfect, and you have to be okay with nebulousness. I think I just made up a word.
I like it.
You have to be okay with it being nebulous a little bit and allow things to happen. I'm in the middle of some things that I shared with you back
Yes.
in the back room, and I'm going 100% in every direction, and it's okay because the truth will come. My mother used to say la nata siempre sube, the real milk, when you heat it up, when it's not
The
pasteurized.
cream will rise to the
Thank
top?
you. The cream will rise to the top. Yes.
I feel like Pictionary. I won.
I know. It looks like. But it always rises, and you will know. You will know when the relationship is right. Choose your customers. I choose my customers, and they have to have the right value system. I have walked away from customers, and I tell my customers, my bank is not for everybody, don't we, Gloria? Our bank is not for everybody. It's for the people that truly value someone who's going to be giving them advice, and that's going to be with them for generations, that's going to create the value, all of this. If you're just there for price, I'll introduce you to some of my best friends at other banks. I will, and I have. And I've escorted them. Why? Because they're a better bank for those values. I'm not. And if my job is to truly make a difference, it's not truly make a difference when it matters most to my pocket. It's truly make a difference, period. Period. If it means, I've called the competition and I've said, I have a customer right here, they're looking for this. This is what we've got. What do you have? If your product is better, then I'll send them to you. In front of the customer, I have done this. And it's come up.
Yeah.
You have to do that. If you really are truly there to add value, and you know what? You have a customer for life, and they will pay more for you.
Yep. I agree with you 1,000%. I know I would normally say what's next for Dr. Betty, but I already know, and I know we're not at liberty to disclose that. But what I can say is that you are absolutely spectacular.
Thank you.
And So before we close out, any final, words of wisdom for everyone?
Wow, final words of wisdom.
That's what I call
Buy
wow.
low, sell high. No.
Yeah, so this is what's called the wow, the
I
words of
know.
wisdom, right?
Well, I think at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, I don't think it's going to matter how much money I put in my pocket. I don't think it's going to matter what titles I had in my career. I think what's going to matter is how many people I touched along the way and the people that will be next to me on my deathbed. And I think the legacy that I will leave behind. And, my epitaph is going to be very, very simple. It's just going to say, she made a difference. That's it. If you are in a position, and all of you are leaders, every single one of you is a leader. And if you're in a position to make an impact for someone, whether it be the cleaning person, the servers that are going to be serving us today at lunch, I often have the servers stand up. I tell them the story, and I give them a standing ovation for serving us. If you're able to do that for every single individual you touch, think about what this world would be like if we do that for everybody we touch. It can be a look. It can be a touch. There is no such thing as a neutral touch. Every touch either adds value or depletes value. There is no such thing as a neutral touch. You choose. It's about choice. What do you choose to do with what you have? President Bush, the time I dined in his presence, he said, it's not what we have, but what we do with what we have that makes the difference. I'll leave you with those words. It's not what we have, but what we do with what we have that makes the difference. You too can sit in the chair.
I love that. You are so busy. You have tremendous reach and influence. You really have, been able to affect lives by the place that you are today. And you've never just stayed complacent with reaching, the C-suite. You have leveraged and utilized that gift and that talent to be able to access people that aren't accessible for the greater good. You inspire me. I am honored that you're here.
Thank you.
And you are
Thank
absolutely
you so much.
amazing.
Likewise.
Dr. Betty, everybody.
Likewise.